All right, I'm going to try to remain calm at the beginning of this video before I start ranting and raving. But it's going to be tough because I am pissed. Are mask mandates constitutional? Well, I'm pretty sure anybody with half a brain and just a little bit of common sense already knows the answer to that question. But let's go over what the media is saying, what the government's saying. You see, because they're already rolling out the propaganda to get you to accept it. Is it constitutional? Well, yeah, of course it's constitutional because we say it is. And then you look to see what kind of, to do your research, what kind of evidence do they have to back this up? And they go, oh, well, we, picked out a supposed constitutional lawyer, kind of like Obama was supposed to be, right? And we interviewed him and asked him about it, or a state legislator and asked them. So basically, you're just taking their word for it, and then they say, yeah, it's constitutional because we say it is. But yet they can't provide anywhere in the Constitution that authorizes the government to infringe on your rights and make you do that. Not even for a health epidemic or a pandemic. It's not there. And then when you look and they go, well, there was this case law back in the early 1900s, Jacobson versus Massachusetts, and they ruled that they could mandate vaccines then and fine you for not doing it. A one-time fine. Well, one, they're not covering everything in that case. Even in that case, they said the government couldn't force you to get a vaccine. They could only fine you for not doing it. They couldn't actually strap you down and force you to do it. Two, if that's the only support you have for claiming it's constitutional, then your case is bullshit. Because we all know the Supreme Court does not have the authority to override the Constitution or create new government police powers that don't already exist in the Constitution. And by that logic, then, slavery is constitutional still. Why? Because the Supreme Court ruled it was in the Dred Scott decision. So do we all still think slavery is constitutional because the Supreme Court said so? Or do we all know, yeah, they were clearly wrong on that one. They were clearly, obviously swayed by special interest. The influence of the ruling class. Anybody who's pro-life, whether they're a Christian or just someone who understands the Declaration of Independence, where it says you have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, a state-sanctioned murder of innocent people violates their right to life. Anybody with half a brain knows that, and they know the Supreme Court messed up there. So, and I'm sure there's many other cases. So, looking back with the track record of the Supreme Court, are we going to sit here and really take that, that's what we're going to accept as our only evidence that it's constitutional and we should comply? No, because they were wrong. Clearly wrong. And they've been wrong before, egregiously. Not just a little wrong. I mean, approving of slavery. I mean, that is as opposite of freedom as you can get. And it's sad that I have to even get into this kind of intricate details of what freedom is or isn't. I mean, anybody with half a brain should know what freedom is. This is supposed to be a free country. We're supposed to be free, and we're supposed to be able to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, liberty, freedom. So, if you're free, that means you can do as you please. The government cannot stop you from doing something or make you do something if you are not hurting anybody else, depriving them of their property or their rights, or, let me emphasize this part here, directly endangering them. And I emphasize that because directly endangering isn't some kind of vague thing. For example, most of us who shoot guns know you got to have a good backstop. You got to be shooting in a safe direction. It's kind of part of the four basic safety rules. And there's laws against shooting in unsafe directions, even if you can legally shoot somewhere like on your property. You can't just point your gun at your neighbor's house and shoot at it. And if you don't hit them and they don't get hurt, go, well, it's not a crime. Nobody was hurt. You can't do that because it's just a matter of time until they do get hurt or killed. And it was a very legitimate risk. DUIs, and not the nickel and diming people for DUI stats that some police agencies do and some officers do. I'm talking about like all over the road. Clearly, it's just a matter of time until this person plows into an innocent person or an innocent family and hurts or kills them. It's just a matter of time. So yeah, the government has the constitutional authority to try and intervene before it happens. And that's all fine. But requiring anybody and everybody to wear a mask, even if they're not sick, because they could possibly maybe be sick and maybe they could infect somebody. No, that does not hold constitutional muster. Now, maybe you could say maybe the government has that authority to make sick people wear masks, but most of us aren't sick, so they have no authority to force most of us to wear a mask. And if most of us were sick, it'd be too late anyway. So they don't have that authority. But they don't care. They're willing to lie to you and tell you that they can make you wear a mask. And we're supposed to accept their word for it? No. Show me where in the Constitution the government can do such things. It's not there. And I would like to add to my fellow law enforcement officers, we need to remember who stood by us when these same politicians who are ordering the mask mandates were ready to throw us under the bus. You know, when people came up and said, hey, we support you guys, that was messed up what happened in Minneapolis, but the rest of this stuff is nonsense. It's not right. Most of you guys, try to do your job right. Most of you guys aren't trying to violate people's rights. And we don't want to defund the police. When they bought us dinner, brought us food before, or bought my dinner before I could even stop them from paying for it when I'm working or something for lunch. And they're like, no, it's already paid for. Too late. And I'm like, no, here, let me give you some money. They're like, nope, not taking it. And they walk out. But we thank you. We support you guys. Those were the people. They weren't wearing masks, okay, while all this was going on recently. None of the mask wearers did that. Because you know who the only people who are wearing masks right now are? It's the leftists. Because they're the ones stupid enough to either believe the fucking false fear. They're the ones that are that stupid that can be easily committed of such absurdities. And like that quote from Voltaire said, those who can convince you of absurdities can convince you to commit atrocities. And that's the road this is heading down, by the way. Mandatory vaccines, tracking and tracing everything, getting you to just be conditioned to accept intimate government control of every aspect of your life. Because what's more intimate on your body than your face? Obviously, your body is supposed to be yours. If you're free, you're supposed to own what you do or don't do to your body, your own body. And what part of your body is the most intimate part of your body, or one of the most intimate parts? Your face. If someone comes up and touches you on the arm and says, hey, man, just wanted to let you know, blah, 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 you're probably not going to think much of it. If someone shakes your hand, you're not going to think much of it. But if a stranger comes up, that same stranger that does that comes up and touches your face, you're going to be a little alarmed. I mean, even if they're not hurting you, if they touch your face, you're like, well, this is uncomfortable. This is weird. Why are they touching my face? Because that is an intimate area. And the government's trying to condition you to accept that they can just have control over you to that kind of intimate level. So you'll just roll over and accept the mandatory vaccines, the tracking and tracing, a possible microchip. That's what they're doing. So we need to band together as Americans and say enough of this shit. Now, I might have to make another detail about possible solutions. By the way, they're trying to enforce these things, but we did not comply. If I could summarize it like this: if the vast majority of us, especially in the same agency, law enforcement agency, don't enforce this, what are they going to do? Fire the majority of the police department or sheriff's office? No, you can't do that. And if they do, that'd be a horrible move. And then if the majority of citizens also are not complying, what are they going to do? Try to have the few officers who are willing to enforce it and arrest everybody? No. So we need to stick together and put a stop to it now, because if it's only going to get worse if we allow this to continue. And they add insult to injury by forcing this in the summertime, when anybody with half a brain, anyone should know this is retarded, that you don't wear a mask to protect yourself from a virus in the summertime. And some of these people that support this mask stuff are so stupid, they don't even see how absurd it is. Like, I saw a guy wearing a mask going down a hiking trail the other day in the middle of the summer. He's going hiking when it's hot and humid out and wearing a mask outdoors on a hiking trail. How stupid can you be? Sorry, it's pissing me off. I'm tired of these scumbag politicians who can't just let us live our lives and be free. I'm tired of these control freaks. And you know what makes me about as mad as the politicians? Are these leftists, these nosy, busybody motherfuckers who sit here and whine on Facebook and whine to the media. No one's wearing masks. We need a mask mandate. Begging for Big Daddy government to put the boot on your throats, on their neighbors' throats, on their fellow Americans' throats, because they can't shut the fuck up and mind their own damn business. You know, if the mask is so effective, why don't you just wear your mask and leave me be? Because they're control freaks. These are the useful idiots that the communists talked about. And they have convinced these people to do their bidding for them. And it's still, I mean, you know, I know a lot of people don't think the majority of America is politically awake, and they're not. But guess what? The majority of Americans that I've seen in the areas I've been to are not wearing masks and not buying the mask BS, especially in the middle of summer. I mean, that just adds insult to injury. I would disagree with it and think it's wrong if it was during flu season, or when, you know, the seasons that viruses usually spread, you know, the late fall, wintertime, whatever, early spring. But when you when you try to mandate this in the middle of summer, you're adding insult to injury. I mean, that's just a slap in the fucking face. In the middle of summertime, hot and humid, you're throwing something on your face that obstructs your breathing. And you know, I've had enough of it. All right, this is what I think about these stupid fucking face diapers. And I know a lot of you guys some of you are still in denial about Trump's portrayal on the Second Amendment, but look, he's not going to save us on this deal. He said he supports masks.
I'm all for masks. I think masks are good.
Look, guys, Trump is not going to save us on this. We have to do this ourselves and stand together as Americans. And if enough of us don't comply, we can possibly avert the disaster that's coming. Maybe. Peacefully, or mostly peaceful. But we have to be willing to do whatever is necessary to defend our rights. So we need to stand together as Americans, as law enforcement, as citizens, as military, as store owners, as business owners. Stand together. I'm telling you, if the vast majority of law enforcement and the vast majority of citizens, especially in the same area, refuse to enforce and comply, there's nothing they can do. If you comply, it will only get worse with mandated vaccines, with mandated tracking, possible mandated chips. It'll only get worse. So I will try to make another video getting into more options and details. And I would like to peacefully avert this, but we got to remember, we got to be willing to stand up. I'm just telling you what the Constitution says. But I'm not putting up with it. You shouldn't put up with it. And this needs to stop right here, right now. And again, I just want to reiterate, if you are a police officer or a deputy sheriff or an agent, investigator, whatever you are, remember your oath. Remember that you have to answer to God for your actions. Even if you are agnostic, I'm sure you have some kind of suspicion or idea that there's probably some kind of cosmic force out there, even if you don't believe in the Christian God, but that's going to hold you accountable. You believe in karma, whatever. I'm sure most of us have that intuition that we're going to have to answer for our actions on this earth. And violating people's rights is wrong and immoral, especially when it's so blatant and intimately done. Don't betray the people. Remember your oath. You know, remember what the officers in Atlanta remembered. You know, you can find another job. And even if you can't find a good job that doesn't pay as much, which there are plenty that do, but even if you don't, remember that there are some things more important than a paycheck. Just like they did in Atlanta then. And that's not the only thing. I agree with what they did, but there's other reasons too, just besides that.